if you'd like.
Yeah. So maybe before we get into that, I would love to hear your personal story,
Sure. Yeah.
where you were and then your transformation.
Okay. So, like you're saying, it's hard to tell I have 4 kids or whatever, and thank you. But it's just so funny because like before I had kids, I was much more overweight. Like I went kind of the opposite direction that people usually do, like I was more overweight. I was overweight pretty much. Weight was an issue for me my whole life, starting in third grade, always an issue. And
Oh,
then, I did run marathons, still struggled all the time. Right. And then, so it wasn't until after I had all 4 of my kids that I started weightlifting, and that's when everything changed. And so first it was weightlifting. Okay. And I know people are hearing that and they're like, well, I lift weights and everything isn't changing. And that's where I was for a while. I was like, I am like living the life of a freaking bodybuilder and I still look exactly the same, but I know I have muscle under this. And so that's when I changed
uh-huh.
nutrition. I did
Oh,
not do keto in the to do like that first part. I was just your basic eat whole foods, go higher protein, that really hard transition of no, I'm not going to eat fast food anymore or all these processed garbage. I'm going to eat real foods and vegetables and, plants and animals that are healthy. And like I just did that full thing. Right. And then I found keto. So I was
so how
already
did that work for you, first of all?
it
That
definitely worked. I went from, I don't know what my body fat was before, but based off of working with people so many years now, I say I was probably in like the mid to upper 30% body fat, something like that. And
you're
then
overweight.
I was overweight. Yeah. And then and by the way, like most women are in that range. Most women, like you wouldn't even think they're like 145 pounds and like 38% body fat, which is like, if you think about that, it's like your life is going to be really exhausting because you have hardly any muscle helping you get through life, So it's very common if you're in that boat as a woman, like you're not alone. It's super, super common. And we can get into that. But I was 11% body fat. I got my first DEXA scan right before I started keto, and I was 11% body fat when I started that journey. So I was starting keto from a very, very different metabolic place. I had just qualified for the Boston Marathon. I had put on a ton of muscle. So that's the starting point I entered keto in, which is very rare. Most people are you doing keto to lose body fat or for a therapeutic medical reason, right? So for me, I was doing it for, the brain benefits. I wanted to see what it's like. I knew it was kind of this metabolic upgrade and all that. And I did keto strict for a year and I lost muscle. Even with like at the time I was dating someone who was very experienced in keto and we were optimizing everything, eating high protein. I was eating really high quality food, using leucine, which is an amino acid that can help with muscle preservation and building. Like I was doing all the things right, but I was just not feeling right. My athletic performance was going down. I actually ran the Boston Marathon in ketosis. That was pretty brutal. And I don't think it was keto's fault. It was that I didn't know you couldn't bring a camel pack with you. And I had it full of ketones and salt and all of that. And I was deep in ketosis and it was really hot in Boston that year. And I got severely dehydrated because they wouldn't let me bring any of that stuff. So anyway, but even still, like even in my running training in the gym, like I never felt as good on keto as I did just eating kind of the way I was before, like healthy carbohydrates, a little bit lower fat, higher protein. And so I did my whole keto year, and it was an interesting experience for me because, my partner at the time and I were coaching people and they're doing the same things I'm doing and they're like losing weight and feeling amazing and so it really opened up this like it got me in this very open-minded place in regards to bio individuality and how people respond to things. And so after about a year, I started bringing carbohydrates back in. And mind you, I'm really deep in the keto space by then. I'm at all the conferences. I know most of the people who are pushing out the keto movement. I'm like this keto person, right? And I'm like dabbling in bringing carbohydrates in because I'm a little bit of a rebel. Like I don't really follow the crowd too much. And I was like, okay, and all of a sudden I started. I mean, I have it all DEXA. I have all of this pictures, DEXA scans, all of it in the intro to my book. It's called Short-Term Keto. But I started gaining a bunch of muscle, leaning out again. Like I felt way more satisfied in my meals. Like everything was going up, everything. But what was cool about it was like I could tell things went up even better than before I had done keto because when you're keto adapted, like you become so non-dependent on food for energy that now I was like, had this superpower. I'm like, man, I feel like I can go as long as I want without eating, and I just get more energy, and I don't have as many like, yeah, I just felt, I could tell that my metabolism had been upgraded, right? So that's where I
So
was
you
at.
think keto actually helped you upgrade your
Oh,
metabolism?
for sure. And that's why I still recommend it to most people, because what you're doing is you're teaching your body how to operate really, really well without being dependent on carbohydrates for
Mm.
energy. That is invaluable. So if somebody's hangry, or like they just, when you get to the point where you're like so hungry, you're just like almost freaking out. It's like
Mm.
you're freaking out. Like, I'm freaking hungry. You just don't get like that anymore after you do keto for sufficient time for you, which depends on the person. And so, like, that's the gift that I care. So now intermittent fasting is really easy. Whereas before, like, I couldn't go that long without eating before. I was like, okay, when's my next meal? When's my next meal? So I got that metabolic benefit. So anyway, to kind of sum this all up, I started to speak out on this, and it was a little scary actually. Like, as I was so keto specialized, I remember being terrified when I first put up sweet potato on my Instagram. Like, I was like, I'm going to be like out. I'm not in the keto club anymore. No one's going to, it was so funny back then. But, um, and then I just started talking more about metabolic flexibility and like why keto is awesome for the right person for the right amount of time, but why we don't need to be pigeonholed into this belief system of like one way is better than the other, because that's what I was experiencing in 2018 when I really started speaking up on this. Was that there were the people that were like, keto is superior, keto is better, like you're basically an idiot if you don't run off ketones. Like, really, that's kind of how it was. And then there's the people that are like, keto is so stupid, you don't need to do keto. Like, there was this huge divide. And so I
Mhm.
was simply trying to bridge this, like, here's why keto is actually really amazing. And especially for a bunch of therapeutic things like neurological diseases, epilepsy, Parkinson's, MS, type 2 diabetes, people with high blood sugar. I mean, like, sorry, but if you can't see how helpful keto is for those things, then you're just not looking that deep.
Mhm.
Right. And so the keto is amazing for so many reasons.
But did
And
you feel that it benefited you for some time and then things started to slip?
I feel like I did not need to do keto as long as I did. I think I would have probably been just fine to do keto for 4 to 8 weeks, maybe 12 weeks, and I would have gotten that benefit and been good. So, it was new. We were kind of pioneering this is back in 2017. Like, we were kind of in this whole exploratory phase with keto. I mean, the keto diet has been around since the early 1900s, but in terms of being popular for people like you and me, that was pretty early for the general public. And so, yeah, I do feel like the benefits I got were this: I
Mm.
could go a lot longer without eating, and it didn't change my mood.
Mm.
Right. That is a huge gift to give yourself. And to, I do feel like there was like because I had been kind of low fat, it's probably too low fat or before that, I could feel this kind of mental emotional benefit of getting more healthy fats in, which of course I could have done probably that without keto. But for me personally, it was like this huge aha of like, girl, you need more healthy fats than you've been eating for sure,
Mhm.
and so those are my kind of two. So I like keto for even somebody who was lean like me, if they really want to like really deepen their metabolic flexibility, meaning you can run without carbs really well, or you can run with carbs really well. That's what I like it for. And then for people who want to lose body fat and tap into their fat stores more easily, or maybe they have high blood sugar that they would like to correct, like, they probably need to do keto longer than I needed to. I didn't need to lose weight, obviously,
Mhm.
so there's different reasons for different people to do it, but I think pretty much everybody, especially in our day and age of food abundance, and we don't have to move really if we don't want to, it's a really, really helpful tool for being able to make sure that your body isn't becoming dependent on incoming carbohydrates for energy and can run just fine without.